Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Truckers Podcast, FYI. I'm your host, Doug from Ontario, Canada, at 8:32 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the 31st of August. We are in full swing of the Labor Day weekend. Yes, long weekend. I have a longer weekend because I had yesterday off, Friday, so I took a 4-day weekend. And I did a show yesterday morning, and of course we'll be doing a show all weekend long, Sunday morning and Monday morning as well. I hope everybody is enjoying the start to their long weekend, Labor Day weekend. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Doug from Ontario, Canada. Now, a couple subjects this morning. Of course, I have up on there speeding, stunt driving, but also in light of what took place a couple of evenings ago. If anybody was following the news or anybody who follows hockey, the tragic accident that took place in New Jersey, Johnny Gaudreau, also known as Johnny Hockey, and his brother Matthew Gaudreau were killed by an alleged drunk driver. This is going to be in the news for a while, in the sporting news as well, in the coming days, in the coming weeks. My heartfelt condolences goes out to the Gaudreau family, their teammates, their friends. People know, ladies and gentlemen, that drinking and driving or driving high is illegal. It is a criminal offense. Canada impaired driving laws are one of the strictest in the world. Now, the alcohol-related impaired driving laws were updated a few years ago in order to become comparable with drug-impaired driving laws that were reformed earlier in that year. And the changes to both drug and alcohol-impaired driving come as the former bill of C-46, which aims to make Canada's laws amongst the strongest in the world. Mandatory alcohol screening. The new laws will give police officers the authority to demand breathalyzer tests from any driver they pull over. If you have a driving infraction, you ran a red light, failed to stop at a stop sign, improper right or left-hand turns, speeding, whatever the case may be, they can demand a breathalyzer test and you cannot refuse. Previously, officers could only test drivers if they had reasonable suspicion the person was impaired. Any driver who refuses to take the test can be charged. These stronger laws are similar to the ones in several other countries around the world, such as Australia, Denmark, France, and Germany. In Ireland, mandatory screening reduced the number of road deaths by about 40% in the first 4 years it was enforced. And before December the 18th, drivers could use the bolus drinking defense, arguing that they consumed alcohol just before driving and it was not absorbed yet. The new law eliminates that defense by making it illegal to be at or over the alcohol limit within 2 hours of being behind the wheel. The new law also bumps up the maximum penalties for many alcohol-impaired driving offenses. Formerly, the mandatory minimum fines were $1,000 for the first offense, 30 days imprisonment for second offense, and 120 days in jail for a third offense. These are the penalties now. First offense with blood alcohol content of 80 to 119 milligrams, mandatory minimum, $1,000 fine. First offense with blood alcohol content of 120 to 159 milligrams, mandatory minimum fine, $1,500 fine. First offense with blood alcohol content of 160 milligrams or more, mandatory minimum, $2,500 fine. First offense, but refused to be tested, mandatory minimum, $2,000 fine. Second offense, mandatory minimum, 30 days imprisonment. Third or more offense, mandatory minimum, 120 days imprisonment. These maximum penalties for impaired driving causing no bodily harm or death, summary conviction carries 2 years less a day imprisonment. Indictment carries 10 years imprisonment. Maximum penalties for impaired driving causing bodily harm, summary conviction for less severe injuries carries 2 years less a day imprisonment. Indictment carries 14 years. Maximum penalty impaired driving causing death, life imprisonment. Criticism of the new laws. Well, while the new laws have been welcomed by Mothers Against Drunk Driving Canada, several groups have raised concerns. Toronto-based lawyer, who often defends those charged with impaired driving, said the new rules are a big change that raise concerns about baseless searches. This is radical departure from previous laws which insulated people against warrantless searches without probable cause, he says. Civil rights organizations have also sounded alarms about the new rules, with the Canadian Civil Liberties Association expressing concerns that mandatory alcohol screening will unfairly affect racial minorities who are disproportionately singled out by cops for traffic stops. A few years ago, police were given the authority to card anyone. It was called carding. They don't do that anymore. My opinion to that is that it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a minority or not, you're behind the wheel of a car. You have the responsibility of following the rules of the road. And if you're pulled over for traffic stops, I don't care if you're black, I don't care if you're Chinese, I don't care if you're white, I don't care who you are. You're subject to the alcohol screening. And is somebody going to turn around and pull the race card? Probably. Last year, there were more than 69,000 police reported impaired driving incidents. About 3,500 were related to drugs. According to the federal stats, on average of almost 4 people die in Canada daily due to impaired driving. With that said, why, so when we go back here and we go, to what the new laws are now, we have the first offense, we have second offense, and we have the third offense. Why do we need the second and third offense? I think at some point in time, if you get a second or third offense, the likelihood is that between that second and third offense, you're more likely probably going to kill somebody. If you're driving high, you're driving impaired, why should you have a driver's license? There isn't one good reason that you could tell me why you need to have a driver's license. If you can't take the responsibility of not drinking and driving, and you can plead your case and say, well, I need my car to go to work. I need my car to take my kids to the sporting events. I need my car to go grocery shopping. Well, maybe you should have thought of that before you got behind the wheel. Having a driver's license comes with a lot of responsibility. Driving or having a driver's license is not a right. It's a privilege. And nowhere in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms does it say you have the right to have a driver's license. Lifetime driving ban coming for impaired drivers who cause death. So we have to wait till that happens. If 4 Canadians die every single day due to impaired driving, why does it have to wait until someone dies that you get a lifetime driving ban? Driving impaired causing someone's death will now cost you a lifetime driving ban under the new measures to be introduced by the Ontario government. And this is in effect a crackdown on impaired driving. It doesn't have to be alcohol. You can be impaired by drugs. Anyone convicted of impaired driving will now have to install an ignition interlock device in their vehicles upon first offense. Ontario already has an ignition interlock program, but it doesn't apply to first offenses, nor is it mandatory. Immediate roadside license suspension will be increased for those with first and second time alcohol and drug related offenses. They will have to undergo mandatory education, driving education and treatment. So you think there's no consequences for drinking and driving. You know, to start planning for life without your car. Now, the Ontario Provincial Police, they'll be conducting mandatory alcohol screening as part of every traffic stop. So any police, city police, OPP, will have that discretion when they pull you over for whatever moving violation you did. They can ask you to take a breathalyzer, and you can't refuse. I don't know what the laws are in the United States when it comes to impaired driving. New Jersey or whatever the case may be. But the death of these of Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew Gaudreau was avoidable, was preventable. But this driver took the initiative to get behind the wheel of the vehicle and drive impaired. And in the event of his choice, 2 lives were taken. We also have here in Canada what we call stunt driving tickets. It's not doing stunts in your car or stunts on your motorcycle. It's speeding in excessive speed. And you think today with the law that we have that people would actually get the message. So the stunt driving tickets are issued by police officers for speeding in the following situations: driving in excess of 50 kilometers an hour, which is 30 miles an hour; driving in excess of 40 kilometers an hour, where speed limit is less than 80 kilometers an hour, traveling at the rate of speed that is a marked departure of the speed limit. 2 or more vehicles traveling at a rate of speed and a marked departure of the speed limit. Outdistancing 1 or more vehicles while traveling at a rate of speed that is marked departure of the speed limit. Chasing another vehicle. Not only police officer allowed to do that. So this stunts driving, so this marked departure. Marked departure means driving at a rate of speed that may limit the ability of a driver of a motor vehicle to prudently adjust to changing circumstances on the highway. This definition is open to interpretation by the police officer, the court system, and the judge. Stunt driving also covers other events listed in Ontario's regulations of the Highway Traffic Act and is not considered a criminal offense, although drivers can be sent to jail. Now, if you're charged with stunt driving. Where a police officer charges the driver with stunt driving, the officer will give the driver three documents: a summons to appear in court, a notice that driver's license has been suspended for 30 days, a notice of the seizure of the vehicle for 14 days. Now, that notice, I think, should be changed. If your license is suspended for 30 days, your car should be in the impound for 30 days. A summons to appear is a traffic ticket without a fine. The summons commands the driver or their representative to appear in court before a justice of the peace. The driver must appear in person or may have a licensed paralegal appear on their behalf. If the driver does not appear on the court date, the justice can issue a bench summons for the arrest of the driver or convict the driver in their absence. So we know what a bench summons is, right? It's a court order for the police to arrest the driver. To ensure their appearance in court, once arrested, the police must take them into custody and bring them before the justice. I will look at the penalties for stunt driving. 6 demerit points. Fines between $2,000 and $10,000. Possible jail time up to 6 months. 14-day impoundment of vehicle. Immediate 30-day driver's license suspension. 1 year suspension upon conviction. Mandatory driver education course. And of course, your insurance company is going to have a heyday with you. 100% increase insurance rates. And where a fine is issued for stunt driving, the provincial government adds a 20% surge charge to the toll payable of the offense. 20%. Maybe should raise that maybe 50%. So, where the driver is charged with stunt driving, the police officers will immediately suspend the driver's license for 30 days, as we said. Now, the insurance companies are not usually notified of the charge, but will see the suspension should they check their record. So when your insurance company comes up for renewal, you probably won't be able to afford to drive. Any license suspension or conviction for stunt driving will dramatically affect your insurance rates for 3 to 5 years. Generally, they go back 10 years. When you're shopping around for insurance, especially here in Ontario, they can go back 10 years. Now, stunt driving is not a criminal offense. It is an offense against the traffic laws of the province of Ontario. It's a good idea if you're caught while stunt driving, which is a serious situation. The advice is to get legal advice. So many Ontario jurisdictions have sent drivers to jail for high-speed stunt driving charges, and fines over $5,000 are not uncommon. I'm on the area roads and highways every single day, Monday through Friday, 7 days a week. My personal car, I drive every single day. I got to drive to work. I got to drive home. I drive the transport truck all day long. I see a lot of bad drivers out there, not just car drivers, truck drivers too. Here in Ontario, so they have increased the speed limits on the 400 series highways in certain sections from 100 kilometers an hour, which is 60 miles an hour, to 110 kilometers an hour, which is 65 miles an hour. On certain sections of the highway. So if you're driving through London on the 401, well, it's 60 miles an hour. Once you get outside the city limits, then it goes up to 110 kilometers an hour. Then you hit Woodstock, you hit Kitchener, the speed limit drops down. You hit Milton, Mississauga, Toronto, it's 100 kilometers an hour. Traffic permitting. Road conditions, weather conditions permitting. Now, getting your license back, drivers, while waiting the court date, can apply to have their license reinstated after the 30 days have passed. The driver may attend any Ministry of Transportation office to have their driver's license reinstated. The driver will have to pay about $300 to reinstate. That's a reinstatement fee. The record of suspension stays on the driver's abstract record for 3 years. Getting your vehicle back. After 14 days have passed, the driver and or owner of the vehicle can attend at the auto pound to pick up the vehicle. The driver will be responsible to pay the cost of the towing of the vehicle to the pound and daily fee for storage of the vehicle. The cost was approximately $700 or more. The vehicle cannot be released before the 14 days, except for 2 exceptions. The vehicle was stolen. The owner can prove to a justice that the vehicle was taken without consent. So your kid just took the car and felt like it and went racing around the city streets and highways. You'd have to be able to prove that. Where the vehicle is taken without consent, the owner would have to apply for a legal hearing before a justice of the peace. Usually this would take more than 14 days, so there is little merit in doing so. See, it's not over for the driver once they've been initially stopped by the police and they're given the 30-day driver's license suspension and their car is hooked up to a tow truck. You have to go to court. And that's where the penalties are going to kick in. And that's where the reality is going to kick in. Well, I hope it does, anyways. Hope it knocks some sense into you. So the drunk driving impaired laws, whether it's alcohol or drugs, we have one of the most severe penalties for you, waiting for you if you choose to do that. And of course, the speeding and stunt driving laws here in Ontario. And yet, I'd be, flipping through my phone, just reading news articles. And it seems to be just about every day someone has been pulled over for speeding, stunt driving, and losing their vehicle for 14 days and the license suspended for 30 days. But we don't hear about impaired driving every single day. 4 to 5 Canadians die every single day due to impaired driving. We don't hear about that every single day. It's not in the news every single day. But the province does do ads about it. One is Choose Your Ride, of a police car, an ambulance, and a hearse. Those three will not be taking you home. You probably drive every day yourself. What I see on the area roads and highways today, you know, doesn't surprise me. And a lot of the things happening on our area roads and highways are not, you know, mostly done by young drivers. It's drivers who've been driving 30, 40 years. They've packed all these bad habits into their car. I'm surprised they have room for passengers because they got so many bad habits in their vehicle. Distracted driving. Number one distracted driving is cell phone use. Today's cars have Bluetooth. You can connect your phone to your car and you can be hands free. Stopping at a traffic light, having your phone in your hand is illegal. Whether you're texting or talking to it while it's being held in your hand is illegal. And I don't know how many times, I can't even count how many times I'm sitting in stopped traffic, backed up traffic, and I'm slowly rolling by you. I'm sitting up high in the cab of the truck. I can look down, I can see what you're doing in your vehicle. And I can't count how many times I've seen people sitting there, that lane's not moving, they're sitting there and they're texting. Rest areas are a place to do that. Pull into a shopping mall parking lot You're parked your car, you're off the roadway. You can answer your call or your text. You don't need to be playing with your cell phone while you're driving. More rear end crashes are happening because drivers not paying attention. I was coming home the other day and I was, in slowed and stopped traffic. And of course, the driver was texting. The passenger was sitting there without a phone. And what happened next was that driver who was texting and the passenger didn't have the phone, that driver drove into the ass end of another vehicle. That's how fast it happens. Rear end crashes are preventable by means of paying attention. When you're behind the wheel of the vehicle and you're driving around the city or on the highways, you don't have time to look down. You don't have time to look down at your phone. But people continue to do it every day, whether they're on the highway or they're on the city streets. It's a $600 fine and 3 points upon conviction. I think it's also a 3-day driver's license suspension. Speeding, tailgating, texting, and driving. Tailgating kills. Speed limits are posted for a reason. Running red lights is another factor of crashes on our area roads. Here in the city of London, where I reside, um, they're putting in 25 more red light cameras. That's a $350 fine, but you don't lose points. Doesn't go against your insurance. Only if you're pulled over by the police for running a red light. That's where that 3 points comes in and your suspension comes in. You don't get any of that on a red light camera. I don't think they have enough people to staff it in order to report to the insurance companies. So you get a $350 fine because it takes a picture of your plate. The owner of the vehicle, I don't care if you have a friend driving your car, the owner of the vehicle gets the ticket because the vehicle is registered to the owner. You'd have to prove that you were not behind that wheel. And still, people are running red lights. making a left-hand turn on a red light. The rule here is the vehicle that is in the intersection waiting to turn left is the only vehicle that should be there. There is a walkway for pedestrians. You can't be in that walkway. So when that vehicle initially is in the intersection waiting to turn left, the light turns yellow, vehicle's coming to a stop, that vehicle make that left-hand turn, not the second and third vehicle behind that car, but yet that second, third, fourth vehicle continues to go around the corner through that red light. You see this every day. When I pull up to an intersection, I'm going to be making a left-hand turn. I position my vehicle that my bumper is just over the other side of that walkway. So that vehicle behind me should be stopping behind that walkway. And I'm waiting to turn. And if I can turn still on that green, then that vehicle can move forward. If I still cannot turn and that light turns yellow, traffic's coming to a stop, and I make sure they are stopping, I turn left. It is now a red light. The vehicle behind me shouldn't be turning left, but some do anyways. I see a lot of rolling stops at stop signs too. I see people making right-hand turns. You can make a right-hand turn on a red light as long as the way is clear. But I see people rolling up. If you're the first car rolling up, this car would be the first car rolling up to the light. And they just roll right around the corner. So you can't you can't do that. Traffic is going to start coming. Unless the opposite traffic is turning left and they got the left-hand turn signal. But you still have to come to a complete stop before you make a right-hand turn. I was coming home. There was another day I was coming home, and I'm driving in the right-hand lane on the city street, and I'm approaching a side street, and I'm practically right there. And the car just makes a right-hand turn right in front of me, does a rolling stop right through the stop sign, makes that right-hand turn into the left lane. And then there's a light. The vehicle stopped. I stopped alongside the vehicle. I rolled down my window and I said, that was a stop sign back there? And she said, I don't give a shit. That was her exact words to me. I don't give a shit. Well, you would have given a shit if I hit you. Because you pulled out in front of me. So I have a dash cam in my car. We have dash cams in our trucks. So there'll be no possible way that you could say, I caused the accident, when the dash cam is going to tell the story. And the dash cam that I have actually has a rear camera as well. So you can't say you can't say you didn't run into me. Can't say I backed into you when I'm stopped and you come running into my ass into my car. You know, being that this is the long weekend, this is Labor Day weekend. Schools return this coming Wednesday here in Ontario. It's going to be a very busy day on the 4th of September. Parents driving their children to school, the school buses, children walking to school. School zones have their posted speed limits, and that posted speed limit doesn't change because it's summertime. They lowered the speed limits in school zones. And that's 24/7, 365 days a year. But more so now when the kids are returning to school. It is the law that you must stop when the school bus has its stop arm deployed and the lights are flashing. You must stop in both directions. Pedestrians have the right of way while crossing with the light. You must stop for the crossing guard. You cannot make right or left-hand turns when a crossing guard is in the intersection crossing children. Pay attention out there on our area roads and highways. Not just because school's returning, but every single day. I leave so early in the morning that I don't even have to worry about that. I leave the house at 5:30 in the morning. I don't return till sometimes 7, 8 o'clock at night. So I miss all that traffic. But what I do when I get into the truck, I mean, school buses are out there. And they're on the rural roads as well, picking up kids. But the rural roads aren't as busy as the city streets are, the city roads. Summer holidays are drawing to an end. And there's going to be a lot more traffic and a lot more commotion going on. There is no time for distracted driving. No time for distracting driving anytime. So get into that driving mode of paying attention and keep your cell phones out of your hands. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Keep your eyes on the road. I want to thank you for joining me this morning here on the 31st of August. Thank you for coming out here. I enjoy your company. I hope you find this show informative. Try to do the best I can to bring you things that for your information. and what's going in and around, around the world and stuff like that. Of course, a lot of going around the world and stuff like that. But here in Canada, if you're not from Canada, you kind of learn what how the laws may differ from your jurisdiction, from the country you're from. So get out there and enjoy this long weekend with your family and friends, and be safe out there. We want everybody in class. We want everybody to be safe. So until tomorrow morning, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, enjoy your long weekend. I'll be back out here tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will have that show posted up later today. I've got things to do today. Of course, you do as well. So until tomorrow morning, take care and thank you. I'm your host, Doug from Ontario, Canada. Take care.